Hello, my fellow readers. It's I, Dark Symphony 777, with a fan fiction review. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to that channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story and any future fan fictions you want me to read or review. And as always, the story is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world. So, I'm gonna be like Paul Heyman. Hello! My phone's off. I don't know what I was doing with that. I don't know. So we're doing another wrestling fan fiction review. It's called The Demon and the Beating by Fandom Style. It's a story centered around Finn Balor and Becky Lynch. So let's get started. So the plot follows Becky and Finn. They're actually going to Ireland. They don't know that they're both going. They run into each other and then they say, "Hey, I'm going to this wrestling thing. You wanna come join me?" It's like, okay. And so they go to Over the Top Wrestling, where, they interrupt, and then they get a message from William Regal. William Regal, a really well-known British wrestler. And so he tells them, and said, "Hey, I was ordered by this lady to leave you a message. You two will wrestle each other in a no DQ intergender match at Fit Finley's, Irish wrestling special, and you're gonna do it. You have to. Otherwise, Finn Balor, I'll shut down your school. Your school will shut down." And so the plot kind of sets off from there. It's basically just them going around Bray, Ireland, interacting with the locals, going to Finn Balor's school, kind of just moseying around, just meandering from place to place. They hang out, and then we get a conference of everyone, asking questions, and Finn Balor says stuff that Becky doesn't like, and so Becky kind of attacks him, and then everyone's like, is it a work, or is it a shoot? And then we get a little more build-up. We get meetings with, Neville and Sheamus, and then we finally get the match. Finn Balor versus Becky Lynch in a no disqualification intergender match, and then the last chapter of the story is them beating the crap out of each other. It's just wrestling. And so that's the plot. That's really all the plot is, which is kind of sad because there's so much the author could have done with this story. The simplicity of the plot belays its attempted need to complicate itself. It's like there's no need to make it this simple. I mean, you had a plot kind of going on screens, and then you had Becky and Balor kind of trying to be friends, and then Balor is trying to say feelings that she doesn't like, that he kind of likes Becky. There are little details that like mentioning all the ESPN and wrestling websites. Really wish there was a reference to What Culture because What Culture is a smartass. Ding! I had to do that, despite the fact Blampede is disappeared. I like the little fact that the headmaster, the person who perpetrated this, was Velvet McIntyre. I mean, unless you're a really big wrestling historian, you probably won't know of that name. I've heard of her, but I don't really know. I didn't really know her that much. I mean, it's not like I watched wrestling in the 80s. My mom was more the wrestling person from the 80s, so she probably would have known it. I only know a couple wrestling personalities from the 80s. Hulk Hogan, obvious. Randy Savage, obvious. Ted DiBiase, obvious. Lou Albano. My mom is actually a big fan of Lou Albano. She was actually pretty sad when he died. Funny fact, going off top, this is actually kind of relevant to this. I kid you not. There is an actual person who comes to my store, looks exactly like Lou Albano. I'm not joking. I'm dead honest. Not joking. He looks a lot like Lou Albano. That is so freaking hilarious and cool. I even showed a picture of what Lou Albano looked like later in his life, and he even commented and said, "Dang, I do look like him." And I was like, that's why I call you Lou Albano. Because you look like him. overall, the plot is very simplistic, with the author doing all these little touches that really should have been made a more complicated story. I'll get more into that at the end, but overall, I think the story was too simplistic for its own taste. I think the author played it way too safe, and really needed to go on a little bit longer, just discussing their backstory and stuff. Like, again, I'll get back, and I'm getting too off topic with that. Character development. There's only two main characters. It's Seamus and Becky Lynch. And here's a tiny little niggling. On the you know how in FanFiction.net there's always character things that, you know, that show what characters are part of the story. Why is Seamus and why is Neville there? I mean, they're completely irrelevant to the story. Cut them out. You know, just leave them out. Just make it Balor and Lynch. That's it. Character development. I like the fact that the author tried to do something like making them friends, but making them super competitive. With Becky wanting to come out of her shadow and seeing Balor become leader of the Bullet Club. If you don't know New Japan Pro Wrestling history, Finn Balor was one of the founders of the Bullet Club, along with, I believe, Anderson, Bad Luck Fale. I can't remember. I believe there was like two other people. I can't remember the other two. I can't remember the other two founders. I knew it was Balor, Bad Luck Fale, and Anderson. Machine Gun Anderson. So, you know, they're trying to be friends and trying to prepare their relationship, and Becky upset the fact that, you know, Balor kind of betrayed Irish wrestling to go to Japan because she felt it was kind of a big slap in the face of who he was, and then becoming so desperate to want to become a big name in Japan that he made get a Bullet Club. I thought that was a nice touch. Overall, I think their characters were decent. They were not as good as I think they could have been, mainly because the story has to dedicate a lot of time to discussing their backstories with one another, and I don't like the fact that you literally have to pull up actual facts about people or, you know, shows to find out what the thing. If you're watching something you never seen before, or you're reading a story of like a fan fiction, if you go to like something like what's the movie I've never seen? Clockwork Orange. Let's just take Clockwork. I don't know why Clockwork Orange was the first movie that came to my head. If I'm reading a fan fiction based off Clockwork Orange, I have no idea what's going on, and I'll probably have to look on another tab, look up the movie, and then find out what it's about. It's like, okay, that makes sense now. The fact that I had to do this with something I'm actually familiar with, I knew Balor. Again, I knew Balor made a school, and he trained Becky, but I didn't know anything about Becky kind of injuring herself. And this was before Becky became the man and stuff like that. She's now the man. I like that nickname. She's the man. It's like, yeah. And you know, she was doing odd jobs. That's fine, I guess. But if I have to literally look up the backstories just to find out, you know, kind of get a handle on their characters better, then you kind of did something wrong. But overall, I think it was a decent group of characters. I think it was a good characterization. Jordan Devlin, I think, is the only other big character. I think he was kind of very, very off with him, like taking it too seriously. Yes, I guess that kind of makes sense in the wrestling part. And them getting too heated and trying to tell a story of both of them being underdogs, but at the same time wanting to prove themselves and tell that this is Irish wrestling sort of thing. I guess that's fine. Bullet Club, why the fuck is Bullet Club there? I don't know why. Grammar, I didn't see any grammar errors. That's fine. So let's just pass over that. Pacing. Oh, excuse me. The pacing is done simply. There's nothing overly bad about it. It's just, it's an okay pacing. Nothing really bad. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. It's the right pacing. I think it went on a little too fast in times, but I'll talk about that when I get to the end. But I think it was done. I think it was done okay. So favorite part, would I recommend it? What would I change, and final thoughts. My favorite part is actually at the last chapter. There was a part where Becky is doing this little gimmick, is doing this, I guess, this one-time gimmick, the Queen of the Emerald Isle. It's based off, I guess, an actual person. What was that? No, wait, what was I saying? It was chapter 9. It was chapter 10. What was I saying? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Chapter 9. So Becky is rocking this Queen of the Emerald Isle. It's basically a one-time gimmick. And then near the start of the match, Becky is sitting in her dressing room, and she's looking at her mirror. She's looking at her costume, and she's trying to psych herself up, and does a very, very well done speech. I actually really, really liked it. She does it. Yeah. I really like it. Let me see if do you think? Yeah, I guess. Do I have time to read it? 11 minutes? Yeah, I might as well stretch this out. I might as well read the entire quote. People and loyal subjects, 'tis an honor to be sitting in the same room as you all. Lend me your attention for a moment, if you will. There's barely a time and place where I could imagine facing something I feared, which is why I address these questions. Why do we run from fear? Why do we hide from fear? Why do we dismiss it? Is it from the unknown or within ourselves? And then in between parts of the speech, it actually kind of cuts to Balor, the demon Balor, him psyching himself up and getting ready, which I thought was a really nice touch. Let me continue. Fear is a manifestation of our thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes towards something so unusual, so bizarre, and so peculiar that we are afraid to reach for the other side for answers. And this other side is what society perceives it to be, and what fear expects society to believe. If fear is the very instrument of our insecurities and vulnerabilities inside and out, do we confront it? Sure, but battling it head on? Even better. Tonight the Demon King is among us, and he's coming to take my soul. I couldn't ask for a greater battle than facing the self-proclaimed ruler of the underworld. I'm willing to lay down my life on the line, and for the crown. The mentor and best friend I've admired for years has consumed back into the darkness. In order to save him, I must defeat the one shadow that's already possessing every fiber of his being, the demon itself. My heart burns with the desire to send this monster back from whence it came, back to the darkest corners of the devil's abyss. What defines me is this darkness, is these darkest of times, is how my bravery will set an example for the world to see. My bravery and passion to be the greatest weren't made by fire, but were forged in flames. I knew in my mind, my body, my heart and soul, that it is my destiny to slay the Demon King. Tonight, I call upon the gods and goddesses of this great land to watch over me and guide me to victory as I enter the battlefield to face my toughest foe. The Demon King, born and bred to strike fear in the hearts of mortals, will no longer cause trouble as long as I'm here. I don't bow down to monsters, they bow down to me. For I, the Queen of the Emerald Isle, shall conquer all fear and dethrone the King of Darkness once and for all. Fada be and Berean, which is translated to Long Live the Queen, and I guess in Celtic or Gaelic, something like that. And that's basically the entire... So I thought that was really, really well done. That kind of sets the bar for what I was expecting out of the story, only for the story to kind of be like, it's fine. So, would I recommend it? Yes. Personally, I don't like the story as it is right now. But as a critic, you have to look subjectively at it. That means you have to get rid of any and all biases. So, just because I don't like it, I ask myself the question, would other people like it? I did the same thing with the last review I did a couple days ago, Tale of the Frog Princess. I didn't like that story because I thought it was very, very simple, But not only is it a good throwback to the fairy tale stories of old, but it's a good children's story. It just has a lot of grammar errors. That's more due to the fact the author's first language wasn't English. I can't blame the author for that. With this one, I think the story was too short, but the characters are on point. The plot is decent enough that I can't complain. The pacing is decent enough. I can't. It just needs more. But overall, the pacing is done well enough that it's a good story on its own. So, would I recommend this? I think I would recommend it. Sure, I probably won't read the story in probably like a month or two. I'll probably forget all about it. Like, to be honest, I'll forget all about it. But overall, I think it's a decent enough story to warrant the recommendation. Sure, I mean, I may not like it, but I can understand why people would like it. But now let's just get rid of this what's the word? This obscenious loquaciousness. Too many big words? I could be loquacious and grandiloquent if I want to be. Maybe I'll make a video just talking in big fancy words. Just for fun. Just for giggles. I don't know. It'd just be like a fun little project. just a separate video, like just me talking very, very big words in like 10 seconds. The gritty Groucho grabbed the gritty Groucho grabbed the gangly green gardener and gargoyle and grappled with the gangly gardener. I butchered that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what would I do to change the story, and there's a lot to change. So let's get started. Ding. First off, the rating. Let's just start with the synopsis area. First off, the story should not be rated. It should be rated T. There is not enough violence in the last chapter to warrant an M rating. I'm sorry, there's just not enough. If this was one of those wrestling fan fictions where the blurred lines between wrestling and reality are kind of are weakened, where they actually attack people, where like Cody Rhodes would actually attack people outside of the ring, other than like be acting like it's still a wrestling, I would rate it M. But I can't rate it M. It's a T story. It's a T-rated story, disguised as an M-rated story because of all the violence in the last chapter. I can get what the author was going to because it's a no disqualification match. But at the end, it's just one chapter. It's not even that violent. It's still a wrestling match, unless you're going for a death match style match. And yes, there are hardcore death matches in Japan where like barbed wire, ring rope, C4 exploding. Just ask Mick Foley. And those, okay, fine, I can see that being an M-rated story. But just a simple no disqualification, which is just basically a super uber long indie style match dive. It's really not that. I mean, it's not really warranting the M rating. It's a T rating, sir, but it's far from an M rating. Second off, get rid of the Sheamus and Neville character things on the synopsis. Just leave Devitt and Becky Lynch. That's all you really need. Sheamus is only there for like 2 scenes, and Neville's not really important enough to the story to really warrant. But I can make them. But in this part where I change the entire story, I'm gonna make them important. So let's get started. So the story starts out as normal. We have Becky and Fowler. They interrupt the wrestler at Over the Top Wrestling in Dublin. That's fine. And then they get the request from Regal saying, "Hey, you're gonna wrestle each other, and if not, Fight Factory is closed down." We know it's Velvet McIntyre at this. We don't know it's Velvet McIntyre at this point in time, but just let the suspension build with leveling key certain areas. Leave lots of hints to give the author which wrestler it is. All we know, it's someone associated with like wrestling, so it could be Fit Finlay, it could be Sheamus. You could have easily done any British wrestling. George St. Clair, for instance, William Regal himself. William Regal could have sworn, and for all we know, it could have been Triple H because honestly, that sounds like a very Triple H thing to do. Cause he's the game. I'm gonna beat ya. I send you over the rope while I'm bobbing my head. I was getting too into that. I had to stop it before I finished. And then showcase as much as Bray Ireland as possible. Them learning the sights and getting into, and second off, getting lots and lots of flashbacks. This story needed some flashbacks to at least give us some idea into their relationship over the years. Like, sure, it may not be real, but I mean, it would have been nice to see a lot of flashbacks just highlighting Becky Lynch being trained by Finn Balor and then getting respect for one another. And then and then possibly like flashbacks to Becky getting injured, some of the odd jobs she had to do, Balor creating Bullet Club. That would have been a nice flashback. Make the story twice as long. It needed to be at least 80,000 words. Have more build up of them wanting to fix their relationship and it constantly fracturing because of Becky's wanting to be slay the demon. Have Bullet Club be like minor antagonists that kind of go in and just tease and humiliate Balor and Becky's not for any reason besides, hey, we can piss them off for our YouTube channel, hey, and just be colossal pricks about it, because that's what Bullet Club does. They're colossal pricks. Super kick party, twonk twonk twonk. and also I would shorten slightly the story, because I think the wrestling match went on a little too long. I think Becky winning the match was fine. I also think there should have been some interference, like Bullet Club kind of interfering one last time, trying to just say, hey, no, we're just gonna beat the living daylights out of both of you and make sure neither of you continue. And then Becky and Balor kind of taking them all out and then beating each other up, and that would have been nice. And also, we would have had a nice little nod to like Neville and Sheamus joining them and saying, "Hey, you're gonna gang war for okay, fine." And then like all of them fighting, and then Becky and Balor is like, then knock out Sheamus and Neville out of the ring. That would have been a hilarious touch. And then they went back at each other. But we needed flashbacks. We needed time to really sell ourselves on the relationship between Balor and Becky as a solid, friendship, mentor-mentee mentality, without having to go to Wikipedia and look up stuff about them. That I just think that was kind of stupid. When we have to look up backgrounds and stuff like that over, certain characteristics, and it show not tell mentality. But overall, I think it's a decent enough story. I have no complaints with it. That's what I would do to change it. Just lengthen it. Have Bullet Club show up numerous times to dick around. Go more into detail about their backstory. Slightly shorten the length of their match, and that's it. And so that is my review on the Demon and the Maiden. I'm a big fan of Becky Lynch. I really like Finn Balor. I like both of them. I think Balor is criminally underused. I don't think he should have ever went to WWE. Becky Lynch, fine. She had to get the confidence back, and I think WWE was the only wrestling corporation that should have done it. That would have actually gave her the confidence up to go back to wrestling. And not to mention, we wouldn't have gotten the man! And her whole gimmick is like, see Stephanie McMahon, beats her up, leaves. Yeah. So, that's So what do you think of my review of the story? Leave a comment in the comment section below. I will see you next time. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and